The forest never woke quietly. That morning, thunder moved without clouds, rolling through the valley as if something beneath the earth had turned over in its sleep. Mist clung low, wrapping the trees like gauze. A small grizzly cub wandered alone near the marsh edge, his fur slick with dew, his breath sharp in the cold. Beneath a fallen cedar, coils shifted, slow, deliberate, ancient. The python struck once, silent and perfect. The cub's cry sliced through the fog, brief and brittle. Far away, a massive figure stirred among black pines. Joda, the silverbacked shadow, opened his eyes. Captivity had taught him the language of screams. The sound pulled him upright. The world around him blurred into movement. Somewhere ahead, a heartbeat was fading. Somewhere behind, something human within him remembered what mercy used to feel like. Joda moved through the undergrowth like thunder made flesh. Branches splintered beneath his weight, rainwater exploding from leaves. He carried no weapon, only the strength of what the lab had once built inside him. The cry came again, weaker. He followed it down a slope slick with moss until the ground opened into a clearing. There the snake writhed in a knot of muscle and scale around the cub's shaking body. The forest had gone silent to watch. Joda stepped forward, every instinct split between predator and protector. Then the branch came down, once, twice, echoes striking like drumbeats through mist. The serpent's body snapped and coiled, releasing its prey in a final shudder. Joda pulled the cub free. The air reeked of blood and rain. Above them, a raven circled once, as if bearing witness to an act that rewrote its own law.
The cub's breaths came in fractured bursts, ribs rising too fast. Joda knelt beside him, massive hands trembling. He had never touched another creature without command. Now his instincts guided him like memory reborn. Steam rose from his shoulders, sweat mingling with rain. He pressed his palm against the cub's side, feeling faint movement. Alive, but only just. Around them, the forest exhaled, returning sound in slow increments. Droplets hitting leaves, a distant branch creaking, life resuming after pause. Joda looked toward the serpent's ruin. Its body twitched once, then lay still, an alien thing that had no right to exist here. The cub whimpered softly. Joda turned his gaze upward. Mist blurred everything into one color, gray, endless, forgiving. He lifted the cub carefully, as though weight could break spirit, and vanished into the deeper dark between trees. Far across the ridge, Luna, the cub's mother, sensed the silence before she heard it. Instinct is older than language. It lives in the spine, not the mind. She froze mid-step, nostrils wide, tasting the air. Something foreign rode the wind. Reptile, iron, smoke. Her muscles locked into movement. The forest bent aside as she ran, paws hammering the soil. Snowmelt splashed beneath her, branches whipped across her flanks. Every second stretched too long. When she reached the hollow, her pack had paused, sniffing uncertainty. She didn't stop. Somewhere ahead, her child was learning fear for the first time. Somewhere closer, another predator had broken the forest's code. The smell of serpent mixed with something else, something larger, older, not quite bear, not quite man. Luna ran faster. The valley itself seemed to draw breath with her.
Joda reached the base of a ridge and stopped. The cub lay limp against his forearm, eyes half closed. Warmth faded fast. He set the small body on a bed of moss and hovered, uncertain. He had seen death behind glass, animals sedated, numbered, forgotten, but never like this, never real. His breath came hard, fogging the air. Then a vibration moved through the ground, heavy, rhythmic, deliberate. Luna was near. Her scent arrived first, wild, electric. Joda rose slowly, shoulders squared. The clearing trembled as she emerged through ferns, larger than memory, teeth bared, eyes fixed on her cub and then on him. For an instant, Time hung suspended between heartbeat and decision. Mercy met instinct. The forest waited to see which one would break first. Luna's roar tore the silence apart. It wasn't anger, it was mourning turned weapon. Joda didn't flinch. He stood rooted, hands open, body still. The cub stirred faintly, a whisper of movement between them. The snake's carcass glistened nearby, proof and accusation both. Luna's charge came halfway before hesitation caught her. She saw the branch marks on the serpent's body, the distance in Joda's stance. Not predator, not prey, something between. Their eyes locked, hers wild gold, his storm gray. The cub coughed once, air returning to lungs like miracle. Luna froze, soundless. Joda stepped back, palms lowering. Balance found them unexpectedly, like instinct rewritten in real time. Above, the raven cried again, a single note slicing clean through thunderclouds. For the first time, the forest didn't choose sides. It simply bore witness.
The storm arrived without warning, cold sheets of rain sweeping across the valley, drowning the scent of blood. Joda retreated into the trees, watching from shadow as Luda curled her body protectively around the cub. Lightning lit her fur silver. He knew this rhythm: threat, response, retreat. It was what captivity had taught him, yet something inside refused to leave. He crouched beneath an overhang, eyes unblinking. Rain carved rivers through mud, carrying away the serpent's remains. Luna raised her head once, gaze passing over him without fear. In that glance lived a language older than tools or fire: acknowledgement. The storm softened, the cub's breathing steadied. Somewhere beyond the ridge, thunder broke like a closing door, sealing what had happened into the forest's pulse. Joda exhaled, heavy and human, then disappeared into the rain. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving fog thick as breath. Luna's cub slept, chest rising in shallow rhythm. The forest seemed newborn, every leaf shining, every branch dripping light. Deep among the pines, Joda moved silently, following instinct rather than path. He had not eaten in days. Hunger was a constant he had learned to ignore. What unsettled him now was quiet. In captivity, silence meant observation. Out here, it meant choice. He stopped beside a pool fed by runoff, staring at his reflection. The face staring back looked less beast than memory. Scar over eye, mud streaked across fur. He dipped his hand into water. Ripples erased the image. Somewhere behind him, a distant sound, Luna's call, low, steady. He turned away, vanishing again, not knowing the forest had already named him its guardian.
Far from the valley, engines hummed. Nathan Kincaid, contracted by Aegis Biotech, scanned satellite footage flickering across his tablet. Unregistered heat signatures, enormous, bipedal, consistent. A legend to most, prophet to him. He marked coordinates, checked rifle seals, and began his ascent toward the ridge. The forest swallowed his sound within minutes. Animals scattered long before he arrived. Above him, ravens followed silently, black commas in the pale sky. Kincaid moved like a man tracing a rumor he already believed. Somewhere ahead, a creature born of science was rewriting its own purpose, and men like him would always come to reclaim what they thought they owned. The first track appeared in mud, massive, half filled with rain. Kincaid crouched, smiling. "Found you," he whispered to no one. The valley shivered, aware of intrusion long before Joda was. Luna led her cub along the stream, the forest unusually still. Every sound carried weight now, each snap of twig, each ripple of water. She paused often, scenting the wind. Far behind, human odor bled faintly through pine. Oil, metal, fear. She pressed the cub forward, her body between danger and dawn. Upstream, Joda moved parallel, unseen but near. He felt the same disturbance, though he did not yet know its shape. When Cincade's drone broke the canopy above, its hum was the sound of a cage returning. Joda froze, head tilting skyward. The red light blinked once, twice, then disappeared into fog. The forest held its breath. Below, the cub splashed and laughed at ripples, unaware that history had just found them again.
The drone's signal pulsed red through morning mist, invisible to most but loud to those who had reason to fear machines. Joda tracked its echo until it faded. He crouched beneath a fallen spruce, heart pounding with something older than fear, recognition. He had seen such eyes before, the ones that never blinked. He scanned the canopy, no sound, only the quiet drip of dew from needles. Below him, the cub followed Luna toward denser woods, unaware of the geometry that hunted them. Joda moved parallel, slow, calculating distance. The forest shifted tone. Birds vanished, insects stilled. Machines changed the air, stripped it of scent and warmth. When the hum disappeared, Joda rose and walked deeper into shadow. The war he once escaped had found new camouflage, metal wings disguised as silence. Miles away, in a sterile control room, Mia Simmons watched the drone feed tremble, then stabilize. On screen, heat signatures flared like ghosts beneath cloud layers. Her breath caught. Joda, alive, scarred, enormous. She zoomed in, frame by frame, until the screen filled with movement and rain. Around her, others stared indifferently. To them, it was data. To her, it was memory. She whispered his name, almost inaudible, and hit record. Behind her, a corporate logo glowed faintly across glass, Aegis Biotech. The system mirrored every keystroke to another terminal down the hall, unseen, unasked. While she tried to reach him, others prepared to retrieve him. The forest had just become a battlefield again, though none of them yet understood which side nature had chosen.
Joda moved through dawn as fog thickened, a phantom sculpted by light. He had crossed valleys, survived winters, built a kingdom of solitude. Yet peace was never the forest's promise. It was its disguise. He stopped at the edge of a geothermal spring, steam rising in perfect rings. The ground here was warm year-round. It was why he lived unseen. He knelt, cupped water in his hands, and washed away the last traces of serpent blood. Reflections wavered. Face, trees, sky. Then another shape flickered. Luna. She stood across the clearing, cub beside her. They watched, no sound, no threat. For a breath, the forest was shared between them, predator and protector, bound by consequence. Then she turned, disappearing into pines. Joda stayed still, understanding the lesson she left behind. Protection isn't ownership, it's presence. At headquarters, the transmission reached a locked office under fluorescent hum. Analysts leaned over screens, whispering phrases like Subject A13 reacquired. Files resurfaced, images, autopsy logs, failed control experiments. None spoke the name Mia had given him. To them, he was property, an investment that had wandered too long without leash. Authorization codes unlocked old containment blueprints. Trucks were mobilized. Orders issued, live capture. Zero visibility. In another room, Mia read the same memo. Her pulse spiked. She typed a command to reroute drone feeds, buying time. Across miles of forest, Joda's image blinked out from every monitor simultaneously. The staff cursed interference. Mia only stared at the blank screen, whispering, "Stay hidden." She knew interference was never permanent. Machines forget nothing.
Back in the forest, Joda sensed the shift. Birds rose in chaotic spirals. Leaves quivered with distant vibration. He crouched low, palm against soil, feeling rhythm through earth itself. Not thunder. Engines. Not wind. Rotors. His territory pulsed with mechanical heartbeat.
He turned toward higher ground, moving in silence no creature his size should possess. The cub played near fallen branches, oblivious. Luna's ears twitched. She stood instantly, scenting the change. A gust carried fuel, ozone, and human sweat. She rumbled low, pushing the cub into cover. Above, sunlight fractured through treetops as something metallic passed overhead. Joda froze beneath its shadow, chest expanding once, slow and deliberate. If they found him, the valley would burn. He watched the drone's red eye glide past, then vanish behind cloud. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. By dusk, human noise bled into the valley, muted at first, then rhythmic. Tires over wet ground, radios crackling through static. Luna and her cub pressed into the hollow of a ridge. Joda climbed higher, perching among trunks like living stone. From above, he saw them. Men in black vests, rifles sheathed, heads scanning. They moved in formation, too precise for hunters, too slow for soldiers. Tranquilizers, nets, tags, Aegis tools. Joda's pulse slowed. He could end them quickly, but noise would summon more. He watched instead, memorizing patterns. Their scent disgusted him, chemical fear disguised as control. Below, Luna's eyes glinted in shadow, tracking same figures. The cub whimpered, soft and high. Joda's jaw clenched. The men passed beneath, never knowing that the forest itself was studying them back.
Night fell hard, stars buried beneath storm haze. Joda descended, each movement deliberate, soundless. The air was thick with diesel and static. He found the remnants of human camp, plastic tarp, glowing instruments, half-eaten food sealed in foil. He touched the fabric. It crumpled like memory of captivity. Nearby, a motion sensor blinked green. He crushed it quietly. The act felt like tearing a thread connecting him to the world he had escaped. Wind shifted. Luna's scent faint in distance, mixed with fear. He followed it downhill until voices intrude, faint but real. Men laughing, unguarded. He crouched, unseen. They spoke of capture bonuses, tranquilizer yields, trophies. Words meant nothing, but tone carried hunger. Joda's breathing deepened. In that moment, the forest stopped being a refuge. It became ally. Lightning returned, revealing the valley in fragments, trunks, faces, gun barrels gleaming. The hunters raised their lenses, scanning thermal grids. One paused. Movement. Their lights swept across ferns, catching nothing but mist. Joda had already moved. He dropped silently behind them, eyes reflecting blue flashes. One hand struck, precise, removing the rifle without breaking bone. The man fell backward, wind knocked out. Another turned, saw nothing, just darkness rippling. The third froze, realizing too late that legends breathe. Joda vanished into shadow again. No bodies, only fear left behind. The men regrouped, voices shaking, radios crackling half-words. High above, Luna and her cub waited, unaware that this was no longer a chase. It was an awakening.
Mia drove through rain-slick switchbacks, headlights cutting arcs through fog. She had stolen coordinates, disobeyed orders, burned bridges. The wipers beat in rhythm with her pulse. On the passenger seat, an old photograph, a young gorilla behind glass, eyes clear, hand pressed against hers. She gripped the wheel tighter. Every mile narrowed the distance between guilt and redemption. Lightning forked above, lighting the ridge she once mapped in satellite images. The valley's darkness looked alive now, pulsing with its own intelligence.
She parked near an abandoned ranger path, grabbed her gear, and stepped into storm. Somewhere inside that forest was the creature she had named Brave. Somewhere beyond, men she once worked for were erasing mercy from the map. Joda reached the northern ridge before dawn. The air smelled of oil and pine. Below, headlights crept like insects through trees. He could sense Luna and the cub nearby, hearts beating faster at every new sound. He scanned the slope, nets, traps, flares. He understood their pattern. The lab had trained him to predict capture. He moved opposite their formation, staying just outside heat range. Rain began again, washing scent trails away. Lightning revealed movement on the far ridge. Mia, soaked, climbing, unaware of what waited below. Joda froze. For the first time since freedom, he recognized her silhouette. The past stood within reach, fragile as breath. Below them, soldiers closed in. The forest shivered between reunion and war.
The sky cracked open just as dawn broke. Joda crouched beneath an outcrop, his breath slow and misted. Below him, the human convoy tightened formation, moving through mud that swallowed tire treads. Tranquilizer darts glinted under gray light, their green tips whispering promises of paralysis. He remembered that sting, the cold flood in veins, the slow betrayal of muscle. He would never wear that sleep again. Across the slope, Luna's form shifted behind fallen trunks, her cub pressed close. Their scents tangled with his in the wind, 3 heartbeats aligning beneath the storm. He rose, knuckles sinking into wet soil, every muscle primed. From the tree line came a shout. The first net launcher fired. Joda didn't hesitate. He burst forward through rain, an old ghost stepping into its own myth, ready to fight for more than survival. The net snapped midair, cutting through fog. Joda caught it before it touched him, the mesh burning across his palms. With a single motion, he tore it apart. Gunfire followed, darts, not bullets. But one grazed his arm. The toxin hissed, spreading numbness through muscle. He roared, not in pain, but refusal. The sound silenced the forest. Luna heard it from across the ridge and answered with her own, deep and rolling. The men faltered, hands shaking, coordination fracturing. Joda moved like storm water, silent until force broke. He slammed one against a tree, disarmed another, crushed a net cannon underfoot. Tranquilizer smoke filled the air. The cub's cry echoed from distance, pulling him toward instinct over rage. He turned and vanished through brush, dragging paralysis like a chain he refused to wear.
Mia stumbled along a ridge cut by erosion, the rain carving miniature rivers beneath her boots. The valley below burned faintly with chemical flare light. She could hear the echoes, shouts, roars, and something between. She adjusted her flashlight, glimpsing movement among trees, a massive shadow weaving through fog. Her breath caught. Joda. He wasn't running. He was directing chaos, intercepting men one by one, herding them away from the bears. She dropped to one knee, camera trembling in her grip, instinct torn between documentation and warning. Through the viewfinder, she saw it clearly. The same silver streak down his back, the same steady gaze that once followed her from behind glass. Only now, he looked unbound, terrible, free. Thunder rolled low, carrying a sound that felt more like prophecy than survival. Luna moved through undergrowth like smoke, her cub clinging close. The gunfire had ceased, replaced by human panic. She followed the scent of fear. It was easy to trace. The valley reeked of it now. She found the body of a python half buried in mud, head crushed, scales torn. She growled low, not from threat, but recognition. This place had been claimed by something stronger than hunger. The cub whimpered. She nudged him forward. They crossed a stream, water glowing with flare reflections. Each ripple carried residue of the battle still unfolding beyond the ridge.
Somewhere above, Joda fought like the mountain itself had chosen to move. Luna paused once, looking toward the sound, then continued. Some allies don't travel side by side. They move parallel, guarding what words cannot say.
The storm thickened until the forest blurred into gray walls. Joda moved through them, every breath a measured defiance against sleep creeping up his arm. The tranquilizer's poison numbed fingers first, then shoulder. He kept moving. The men regrouped near their trucks, radios spitting static. One reached for the emergency beacon. Joda saw the flash of red before instinct overtook reason. He lunged, seized the device, crushed it. The man fell, unhurt but terrified. Joda's breath fogged the space between them. Then he turned away, leaving him alive. In the silence that followed, guilt flickered inside the human like a spark in ash. Mercy, unexpected, was more haunting than violence. Above, lightning illuminated Joda's form against trees, a living monument to everything humanity had built, broken, and failed to own. Mia reached the first wreckage at sunrise, 2 overturned ATVs, broken equipment, footprints vanishing into mist. She found tranquilizer casings scattered like seeds. Her radio buzzed, but she ignored it. The valley smelled of ozone and soil, heavy and wet. Then she saw it, a massive handprint pressed into mud, the size of a helmet, edges filled with rain. She knelt beside it, touched the imprint gently. Warmth still lingered. He wasn't far. Somewhere nearby, engines coughed back to life, and orders shouted through megaphones fractured the calm. She lifted her head just as a shadow crossed her, something passing above the tree line, not a bird, a helicopter. Aegis had escalated. The forest, which had fought quietly, was about to scream. Mia ran downhill, heart hammering against a truth she already knew. Mercy never wins alone.
The helicopter cut across the valley like a blade, downdraft flattening grass and scattering debris. Luna roared, shielding her cub as the craft circled overhead. Joda climbed the western ridge, moving fast despite pain crawling through his veins. From below, the sound of men multiplied. Floodlights snapped on, bleaching forest colorless. The operation had become an invasion. Joda stopped at a ledge overlooking the chaos. A swarm of men, machines, flares, and fire. The valley looked like a scar reopening. He gripped a fallen trunk, eyes narrowing. Then, without hesitation, he pushed. The log thundered down the slope, crashing through equipment, cutting lights. Screams rose and dissolved into rain. For every machine that tore earth apart, the forest had found its counterweight. Joda roared once, voice merging with thunder until even metal trembled. Amid the collapse, Mia emerged into open ground, soaked, hair plastered to her face. She waved frantically toward the descending helicopter, shouting words the wind devoured. A spotlight found her, freezing her in white glare. "Hold fire," she mouthed, though no one heard. Joda saw the beam pivot, saw her silhouette framed against stormlight. Recognition surged, a human who had once whispered his name like salvation. He stepped from shadow, body towering behind her, between light and target. The pilots hesitated. The image, a woman and a beast facing together, paralyzed decision. Seconds stretched into something sacred. Then a rifle fired from below. The shot missed its mark, but shattered illusion. Joda moved instantly, pulling her aside. The bullet struck a tree behind them. Nature inhaled sharply. The next breath would decide the valley's fate.
The rifleman reloaded, adrenaline shaking his aim. Joda lunged from darkness before he could fire again, the earth itself seeming to move beneath his charge. He struck once, disarming, not killing. The man collapsed, gasping, eyes wide. Mia crouched behind a fallen trunk, rain cascading over her. She watched him fight, every motion purposeful, restrained. This wasn't rage, it was resistance, honed by memory. More troops advanced from the south, nets primed, tranquilizers ready. Joda turned toward them, muscles quivering, breath like thunder rolling inside his chest. For a heartbeat, he hesitated. Kill or spare? Then Luna's distant roar echoed through valleys, reminding him of what waited beyond violence, a cub's heartbeat. He roared back, not in fury, but in promise, and charged again, the storm choosing its champion. When dawn returned, the valley was unrecognizable. Smoke clung low, thick as memory. Machines lay half-submerged in mud, blinking useless lights. Joda stood alone on the ridge, chest heaving, fur streaked with ash and rain. Below, the last of the soldiers retreated, dragging wounded and broken gear. No death cries, no victory, only exhaustion. Luna emerged from cover, her cub pressed close. She looked up at him. Their gazes met across the ruin. He nodded once, slow and deliberate, before turning away. The forest exhaled around them, a wounded body beginning to heal. Mia watched from a distance, tears mixing with rain. She understood now. This wasn't just a creature defending its home. It was creation reclaiming itself. The storm drifted east, carrying with it the last echoes of captivity undone.
Dawn crept over the valley in ribbons of smoke blue. Joda crouched high above the clearing, half hidden among dripping branches. Below, the forest exhaled again, reclaiming its rhythm. He watched mist coil where bodies had moved hours earlier. Peace felt heavier than battle. It pressed on his chest like memory refusing to dissolve. He rubbed the burn on his shoulder where tranquilizer had grazed. Heat still pulsed beneath fur. Then the ground quivered, faint but unnatural. He pressed one hand to soil. Machinery, not retreat, return. Through fog, a faint red flash blinked once, a lens, not an eye. He knew that light. It belonged to cages, not dawn. The forest seemed to flinch with him. Somewhere below, Luna rumbled, gathering her cub. The storm's echo was back, smaller, colder, made of circuits and greed. Nathan Kincaid trudged deeper into the wounded valley. His boots sank in mud, still warm from engines. Every sign contradicted itself. Serpent scales, bear fur, footprints too human for any animal. He crouched, tracing one print with gloved fingers, its depth impossible. The legend had walked here. He felt a thrill sharpen behind his ribs. Prophet always did that. The air pressed close, wet with thunder's leftovers. He adjusted the rifle sling, lifted his thermal scope, and froze. A shape moved through vapor, massive, upright, fluid. His breath caught, fogging the lens. Joda! The scope shook. Greed wrestled with awe. He whispered a curse, lowering the gun. Myths, he thought, should stay unprovable, yet the coordinates pulsed red on his tracker, bright as temptation. He raised the rifle again. The forest inhaled, bracing for repetition.
Far across the ridge, Luna stirred. Her cub twitched beside her, dream broken by vibrations she didn't yet understand. The forest's smell had changed again. Diesel, sweat, synthetic oil. She rose, nostrils wide. Danger had learned to mimic rain. She nudged the cub toward thicker shadow, guiding him between tree roots still slick from storm. A drone's hum whispered overhead, red light blinking through vapor. Its camera swept, catching fragments, paw prints, broken brush, a single upright shadow before signal distortion took it. Luna flattened against the slope, silent. The cub whimpered once. She covered him with her foreleg.
The machine circled twice more, then veered east. The valley's heartbeat resumed, slower but guarded. In a distant control room, a technician frowned at static and wrote the word anomaly without knowing it meant life. Mia Simmons stared at the returning feed. The drone's image flickered between trees and fog until clarity cut through, a silhouette rising from steam, half myth, half memory. Joda. Alive, scarred, undeniable. She leaned closer, heart hammering. Around her, monitors blinked data streams, temperature, movement, stress readings. Numbers couldn't describe what stared back through rain. The system flagged, specimen continuity confirmed. She knew what that meant. Retrieval. Hands on neighboring consoles began typing orders. Mia disabled her microphone, muting corporate breath. For a heartbeat, she let herself look, really look, at the creature she'd once freed by mistake. Then she pulled the plug on the feed. Alarms erupted, lights shifted to red. "Signal lost," a voice said. But the word lost had never sounded so holy.
Joda felt the change like static crawling through fur. The sky's hum wasn't thunder. It was machinery, searching its own reflection. He scanned clouds until he found it, a small black shape, drifting low, lens glinting like an artificial eye. He didn't move, muscles tensed and waiting. The machine descended, hum sharpening. It captured his outline perfectly, scars, steam, defiance. For one heartbeat he let it look, let it remember what the world had made. Then his hand closed around a fallen trunk. He hurled it upward. Wood met metal, sparks burst like miniature stars. Fragments rained down through mist, burning out before hitting soil. Silence filled the space it left, deep and clean. But silence never stays unreported. Far beyond the ridge, engines awoke, the next wave, summoned by a broken eye. Luna heard the same vibration long before it reached her. She stiffened, ears pivoting toward the valley mouth. The cub pressed closer, small body shaking under her chest. The sound rolled closer, rhythmic, foreign. She moved uphill, paused silent on moss, until she saw him, Joda, emerging from fog, gaze fixed beyond her. He was moving toward the noise she was running from. Her instincts snarled, then bent. She followed, leaving deep prints beside his. Between them, the forest parted like curtain for a shared purpose. Beneath roots, worms stirred. Birds vanished into clouds. The air thickened with metal taste. She glanced once at Joda, massive, deliberate, unstoppable. He did not look back. Together they climbed into the storm's throat, guardians approaching the mouth of man's return.
Kincaid reached the ravine's edge, breath visible in cold air. His scanner blinked erratically, unable to separate heat from myth. "Close," he muttered, gripping rifle tighter. Behind him, trees whispered, not wind, not animal. He turned, too late. Joda struck from shadow, a blur of muscle and rain. The impact drove him backward, rifle spinning away. They rolled through mud until a boulder halted momentum. Kincaid gasped, reaching for knife, but Joda's grip locked his wrist, steel meeting flesh. He didn't crush, only held. Their eyes met, one burning with greed, the other with recognition. For a moment, time folded back to labs and cages. Then Joda released him, stepping away, breath heavy. Kincaid collapsed, weaponless, lungs on fire. Above them, thunder cracked, applauding restraint. Rain thickened, turning ground to mirror. Kincaid sprawled in mud, staring up at the giant silhouette dissolving into trees. He felt something unfamiliar, shame. Then lights pierced the fog, Aegis reinforcements, rifles, radios, precision. Joda paused on a ridge, watching beams spread through rain. Their discipline unnerved him, synchronized steps, same heartbeat.
He smelled the tranquilizer chemicals before seeing darts. They had refined the formula. He retreated, glancing once toward Luna's last scent trail. The cub's faint heartbeat reached his senses like echo. That was enough. Below, soldiers shouted commands, tracking his heat signature. He vanished deeper, where machines couldn't follow, and myths still chose their own names. The hunt restarted, not for survival this time, but for silence itself.
3 trucks crawled into the valley, matte black under rain. Antennas blinked, mapping terrain through dying drone data. Inside, screens projected thermal silhouettes. One large, one smaller. Luna and the cub. Another upright, massive. Target A13 confirmed, voices repeated. Joda's old designation returned like a curse. The convoy slowed, headlights carving pale corridors through fog. Men fanned out, rifles whispering gas-powered sighs. The forest hushed. Every leaf seemed to lean away from them. Then the earth trembled. A shape rose from shadow, taller than vehicles, shoulders glinting silver under lightning. The rifles lifted, hands uncertain. Joda stood unmoving, rain running down his chest, eyes fixed on their leader. No roar, no charge. The stillness itself was the warning. Mia's jeep crawled down the last switchback, tires spitting mud. Her GPS pulsed red, 2 signals merging near geothermal vents. Through fog, flashes of light, headlamps, muzzle fire, movement. She killed the engine, stepped into rain. Ahead, in the chaos, she saw it. Joda, standing beside Luna, both framed in flare glow, facing the armed line. The cub hid beneath Luna's chest, eyes wide. For a heartbeat, everything stilled, nature and machine staring at their own reflection. Then Luna roared, sound rolling through trees like thunder given purpose. Men fired, tranquilizer vapor clouding air. Mia screamed, though no one heard, rushing forward. The world erupted, rain, fire, noise, and Joda vanished into that storm, the living boundary between creation and its regret.
The world tilted into silence after the storm. Tranquilizer smoke drifted low, coiling around roots and burnt soil. The soldiers' radios crackled with static, their formations shattered. In the fog's glow, Joda moved like a phantom made of breath and defiance. He struck only when cornered, each motion efficient, unmerciful, but measured. The forest seemed to fight with him, branches snapping to block lights, thunder masking his movements. Luna guided her cub uphill, her growls swallowed by rain. A soldier turned and froze. Eyes met eyes through mist, one filled with terror, the other with something close to sorrow. Joda let him live. He vanished again into vapor, a myth reclaiming the shadows. When calm returned, the valley no longer belonged to science. It belonged to the silence that followed courage. Mia found the clearing hours later, guided by faint beacons blinking from overturned trucks. She moved slowly, flashlight trembling over mud and ruin. The valley smelled of wet iron and pine. No voices, no engines, only distant breathing, the forest catching its rhythm again. Then she saw it, a massive figure on the ridge, half shrouded by fog, one arm limp at his side. Joda. His fur was slick with rain, body outlined by dim lightning. He watched her, but didn't move. Between them lay the remnants of man's attempt at control, broken tranquilizer casings, shattered lenses, and silence heavy enough to crush breath. She lowered the light, unwilling to blind what had already been hunted enough. When she looked up again, he was gone. Only his footprints remained, pressed deep like a promise the earth itself would remember.
By dawn, the forest began to heal itself in whispers. Birds returned cautiously, testing air for safety. Steam rose from the vents, curling through shafts of sunlight that finally broke the clouds. Mia climbed to higher ground, her boots leaving trails beside Joda's enormous prints. She followed them until they reached a stream glimmering with melted storm water. There, she found a branch, splintered at one end, the same one he'd once used to strike the python. She touched it gently. The wood pulsed faintly with warmth, as though the memory of impact still lived within. Somewhere beyond, Luna's distant growl echoed. A mother's warning turned farewell. Mia looked toward that sound and realized the valley had written its own eulogy. Some wars end not in death but in understanding too deep for language to translate. Joda watched from the ridge, hidden among blackened pines. Below, Luna and her cub reached the far side of the clearing. The cub stumbled once, still weak but breathing steady. Luna turned back, sniffing the air one last time. Joda's gaze followed her, neither claiming nor relinquishing. The forest carried their unspoken truce like wind between trees. He crouched, placing a palm on soil damp with morning dew. Underneath, he felt vibrations, the smallest movements, insects, water, roots. Life continued, uncaring of war. He rose slowly, chest rising with the weight of what had passed. For the first time in years, he felt something almost forgotten, peace, fragile and fleeting. Yet beyond the tree line, the low hum of engines hinted that peace, like captivity, was never permanent.
Miles away, Aegis Command Center flickered with activity. Satellite feeds replayed static-laden fragments of the failed capture. Officials spoke in clipped tones, words like containment breach, public risk, and deniability. But beneath their urgency lay something quieter: fear. The footage of Joda standing beside a mother bear had leaked through an unsecured channel. It spread fast, a digital wildfire. Viewers called it impossible, others called it divine. Mia watched from the edge of the room, face unreadable. She had seen both the miracle and the monster humanity could become. Behind her, screens glowed with freeze frames. Joda facing headlights, Luna shielding her cub, rain like fire between them. No narrative, no manipulation, just truth, too big for language. And somewhere deep down, even the corporation's heart skipped a beat, realizing control had never been ownership. In the valley, rain turned to mist, then sunlight. The forest's wounds steamed quietly. Joda sat beside the stream, washing blood and tranquilizer from fur. His reflection shimmered, eyes old, jaw scarred, posture tired. Behind him, birds began to sing again, uncertain but brave. He raised his head to listen. Sound, real, natural, filled him like breath after drowning. Across the water, Luna appeared briefly, cub beside her. They watched from a distance, neither approaching nor retreating. The cub tilted his head, curious, alive. Then they turned and vanished into trees, leaving ripples of calm. Joda exhaled, a low, resonant sound that blended with the forest's pulse. The war had ended, but a shadow still lingered, a machine's echo buried beneath birdsong, waiting for orders it could no longer fulfill.
The following days unfolded like recovery after fever. Forest paths cleared under rainfall. The scent of fuel faded, replaced by pine and wildflower. Joda moved through it all silently, inspecting broken equipment half swallowed by moss. He dismantled what he could: nets, antennas, cages, burying metal deep where roots would reclaim it. Every act felt ceremonial, as though restoring balance one shard at a time. At dusk, he returned to the ridge where everything had begun. Mist painted his silhouette bronze. He stared toward the horizon, where distant smoke from human trucks thinned into sky. He did not hate them anymore. Hatred had no place left to root. Compassion had claimed the soil. Beneath the ridge, Luna's den glowed with faint warmth. Peace existed, brief but real, between pulse and memory. Mia returned to Anchorage 2 days later, carrying the story inside her like a wound that wouldn't close.
She faced silence at the research board, a dozen officials asking for reports she refused to write. No footage, she said, though she carried one memory card in her jacket. Later that night, she inserted it into her laptop. The video flickered. Rain, chaos, two giants side by side against men and flame. She watched until the frame froze on Joda's eyes, reflecting firelight. She closed the screen slowly. Outside her window, mountains loomed under Aurora's green shimmer. She whispered nothing this time. The world would either learn or forget. But she knew, nature doesn't seek vengeance. It demands remembrance. And remembrance was already spreading through screens, stories, and the quiet between human breaths.
Winter returned early that year. Snow layered the valley like forgiveness. The forest slept beneath it, roots dreaming of summer. In a clearing shaped by storms, Joda built shelter from fallen pines. He rested there, watching frost gather on branches, listening to wolves in the far distance. Above, the sky was endless white. He had no name here, no past, no cage, just rhythm. Sometimes, he'd lift his gaze toward the ridge where Luna had vanished, sensing her presence still. Other times, he'd close his eyes, remembering glass walls and a girl's kind voice calling him brave. Memory no longer hurt. It hummed quietly, like an old song beneath snow. The valley belonged to silence again, but it was a living silence, one that remembered who had earned it. Months later, as ice thawed and rivers broke free, footprints reappeared in the mud. A ranger on patrol found them, massive, deliberate, leading toward higher ground. Nearby, claw marks traced trees, not in anger, but in marking territory. Rumors spread fast. The valley's ghost lived still. Joda moved unseen, following new migrations, watching the cub, now grown, learn to fish along the same stream where the world had changed. From afar, he observed, never intruding. Nature didn't need him now. It had healed itself. He turned toward the ridge, eyes catching sunrise through mist. It bathed his scars in gold, erasing every number once branded into him. Somewhere beyond human reach, the forest whispered his name, not subject, not legend, just Joda, the one who stayed when the world forgot how.
Spring spilled into the valley like a quiet confession. Meltwater carved new veins through the soil, tracing paths once marked by battle. Joda moved with it, slower now, deliberate, collecting fallen branches to rebuild shelter deeper within the ridge. Each movement carried purpose, a rhythm learned from both rage and mercy. He watched sunlight fracture through leaves, dancing on pools of thawed ice. This forest, once scarred by man's intrusion, pulsed again with innocence. A raven circled overhead, calling once, twice, then vanished. Joda tilted his head toward its fading echo. Somewhere beyond those trees, he could sense them. Luna, the cub, the heartbeat of continuity. Peace, brief but alive, stretched across the valley like breath returning after drowning. The storm's memory lingered only as scent, iron, rain, and the faint ghost of redemption. Miles away, the world spoke of him as rumor. News anchors called him myth. Scientists called him anomaly. Children whispered his name in stories about guardians of forests. Mia watched those broadcasts in silence, never confirming, never denying. She'd seen governments debate footage she'd erased, arguing over ownership of something that could never be owned. Yet the story outgrew containment. Artists painted him beside bears. Monks spoke of him in prayers. Joda had crossed from evidence into faith. Mia printed a single frame from her old footage, the moment he turned towards sunlight after the storm. She pinned it to her wall. No caption, no credit. Sometimes she'd glance at it before sleep, not in guilt, but in gratitude. In saving him, she had remembered herself.
The valley entered early summer. Green unfurled where flame once walked. Streams murmured like soft conversations between stones. Joda roamed its edges, marking borders only he understood. The forest had changed. Balance restored itself in quiet symmetry. Yet traces of man persisted. Metal buried beneath moss, forgotten cameras half swallowed by bark. He dismantled each gently, setting fragments into the river's flow until they disappeared. Every piece carried a story away. At dusk, deer returned, fearless, grazing near his shelter. Even wolves passed without a growl. Nature no longer feared his size, it recognized his purpose. When wind rose, it carried the faint hum of mechanical wings far away, searching for signals that no longer answered. In this silence, Joda existed not as a beast, but as consequence turned guardian. One evening he climbed the highest ridge, where the tree line bent beneath endless horizon. From there, he could see every scar of the valley fading under new bloom. The air shimmered gold, thick with pollen and warmth. He knelt, fingers brushing over wildflowers pushing through the earth, colors the lab's walls had stolen from his memory. The wind moved through his fur like a language he once knew, but had forgotten how to speak. Below, a river curved like silver thread. He followed its glimmer until it vanished into distance, where humans lived again, unaware that their machines had once reached too far. He stood there until night consumed the edges of light. When stars appeared, their reflection pooled in his eyes. For the first time, he didn't feel alone under them.
Elsewhere, in a university lecture hall, researchers debated a new term, biological sovereignty. A photo projected behind them, a massive silhouette amid stormlight, unnamed but undeniable. Students listened, spellbound, as the lecturer described the myth of the Alaskan guardian. No record confirmed his existence, yet no one dared deny it either. The idea spread faster than proof. What if nature chooses its own protectors? Someone asked. Silence followed, respectful, uncertain. Outside, rain began to fall, light and unthreatening. In that rain, drops traced the same rhythm that once fell upon Joda's fur. Legends, after all, aren't immortal because they're remembered. They're immortal because they change the way silence sounds. The storm had ended, but its echo had become philosophy. Back in the forest, dusk deepened to indigo. Joda rested beneath the massive roots of an overturned pine. The ground pulsed faintly from geothermal warmth, wrapping him in living comfort. He closed his eyes, hearing the chorus of night, crickets, distant wolves, the whisper of moving water. For years, sleep had meant danger, but now it felt earned. In dream, he saw glass walls melting, steel doors bending outward like leaves. He walked through them into light without alarms. There were no humans there, no machines, only the sound of rivers becoming his heartbeat. When he woke, the stars hadn't moved. The world was the same, only quieter. He breathed once, slow and deep, and realized freedom wasn't escape. It was belonging without fear.
Far beyond the valley, Luna's cub had grown strong. The young bear moved confidently along streams, catching salmon under sunlight that painted his fur in bronze. He bore faint scars along his ribs, reminders of serpents and storms. Nearby, Luna watched from the shade,
her massive frame softer now, her eyes no longer wild with worry. She turned her gaze once toward the ridge where the silverback once stood. The wind shifted, carrying his scent faintly, pine, rain, ash. She huffed, low and calm, and pressed her snout to her son's head. The forest's cycle had mended itself, the old guardians replaced by new ones. Still, when moonlight touched the river, she swore the reflection behind them wasn't just their own. Some legends remain because the earth refuses to let them fade. Autumn returned quietly, red leaves drifting through thin air. Joda wandered further south, crossing valleys carved by centuries of glacier breath. The nights came colder, the days shorter. He foraged rarely, lived mostly by instinct and motion. But one morning, at the edge of a frozen lake, he paused. Reflected in the ice, distorted but clear, was his silhouette surrounded by white expanse. No bars, no walls, just space. He pressed a palm to the surface, frost spread beneath his skin like veins of memory. Above, geese crossed the sky in perfect formation, unbound. He lowered his hand and turned back toward the forest, his footprints filled with wind. Behind him, the ice began to crack, not breaking, but breathing again.
The following winter, only traces of him remained. Footprints fossilized in permafrost, nests built from bark and memory. Rangers found them and took photos, debating authenticity. Some said giant prints belonged to melting glaciers, others to myth. None dared erase them. Each spring thaw brought the marks back, unchanged, as though the valley insisted on retelling its own history. Tourists hiked miles just to stand where the Guardian once walked. They spoke softly there, like visitors in a cathedral. No monument was ever built. The forest didn't need one. Joda had already carved his legacy in silence. Every rustling branch carried the same message: strength without cruelty, power without domination. The wild had remembered its balance, and it spoke now through stillness alone. Years later, under a sky lit by aurora, the valley slept again. Snow shimmered under green light, rivers frozen mid-whisper. A single raven glided low, landing beside an ancient handprint fossilized in stone. It cawed once, echo fading into the trees. The forest answered with silence, not emptiness, but reverence. Beneath that layer of time, roots had grown around the mark, protecting it like scripture. Somewhere deeper, unseen, unmeasured, a heartbeat still moved with the rhythm of the earth. It belonged to no cage, no memory, no myth, just Joda. His legend lived not in sound, but in the pause that follows it. The valley breathed once more, and for the first time, the world listened back.